To beat a bot, you need to be a better human. It's an idea Paul Roehrig has spoken about for years, but in today's AI moment, it feels more relevant than ever. Paul is the Chief Strategy Officer at Ascendion and co-author of 3 influential books on data, machines, and the future of work. In this interview, we unpack enterprise skepticism, vibe coding, AI guardrails, and what it really means to build something enduring in an AI-first world. This is a fresh episode of Brew Talks, so let's get into it. So Paul, let's start with your mantra that you'd mentioned. To beat a bot, you need to be a better human.
Yeah.
So, but in this today's day and age where we're talking about codes and bots, so why do you believe that humanity is the element that's required in this AI revolution?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's something we've thought about, I've thought about for a long time now. I think if you look back at history and look at the progress of humans, every major technical innovation, starting back with probably even fire, but certainly the written word and steam power and electricity, there's always been this moment of fear that the machines, whatever the technology is, and right now it's AI, is going to do something we don't anticipate or don't want or can't control. And we're going through that right now. But what gives me a great sense of optimism is that in every case, even though the fear is parallel in many cases, humans have always found a way to adapt and to contain the technology in a way that's productive and helps life get better. If we look back thousands and thousands of years, you can see how these technologies have improved our lives overall. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not without some downsides, it's not without some negative impact, it's not without unintended consequences. But I think humans plus AI is in many ways a lot like what we've seen throughout history. And there are things that the bots just don't do that well yet. They can mimic, but they don't wake up and want to write a poem or feel curious or feel empathy or feel compassion or any of the things that make us uniquely human. Mm-hmm. So that's why I feel very strongly, in light of the historical precedent, that the best way to get the most out of this kind of technology is to blend with the new technology.
Good. So you would say human in the loop is an absolute must, and that's probably how it would be even in, say, the next decade or so?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the thing that I think some of the fear is driven by, is that at some point AI is going to kind of surpass our humanity. It already can do things that we can't do. I mean, if you were having this interview with an AI bot and said, say every word in a different language, it could do that. Yeah. I don't know how useful that would be, but it could do that. I can't do that. You probably can't do that. So it's already doing these things that humans can't do. But the idea is that humans are in charge. We are in charge. We get to decide. So it's not only humans in the loop in some sort of reactive way, it's humans at the helm, humans at the wheel, that I think is really the model that we'll ultimately end up with.
So in your book, What to Do When Machines Do Everything, so when you wrote it at that point, did you ever anticipate a future where, like right now with the ChatGPT moment and the way AI kind of evolved from that and kind of became a big thing from that, did you see that future back then, or were you as surprised as everyone else right now with the way Gen AI is just rapidly grown and accepted by all?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say surprised, but not shocked.
Okay.
So the kind of the immediacy and how fast it became permeated and democratized, I think that was the surprise. Mm-hmm. The fact that AI was gaining in sophistication, gaining in broader utility and usability. I think we did, Ben Pring and Malcolm Frank and I, when we were writing that book, we anticipated, I think, based on the data that we were collecting, that AI was going to have a huge impact on how work is done. But the suddenness of it, right, the moment of, oh my gosh, now I can turn on ChatGPT and it does all of these amazing things. It's talking back to me, and now we're trying to figure out how to make business value out of that capability. I think the immediacy and kind of the almost explosive democratization of AI into all of our lives. I don't think I'd like to say we could foresaw that, but I don't think we did.
So, with the way things are going right now and with the way companies are adopting it, do you see any challenge in the current system that there's something that they're doing wrong or they've not yet figured out?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know wrong. So with Ascendion, we work with clients every day that are wrestling with how do we extract value from this remarkable technology. I think it's too early to say people are doing the wrong things. I think the only really wrong thing, if I could say that, would be to look at it and go, well, this is probably not going to happen. This is all going to blow over. I think that would be a very risky bet. And in fact, I'm actually encouraged by the resistance. And by that I mean, you want, we do work with enterprises all over the world. These are important banks and healthcare companies and life sciences companies and retailers and so on, and technology companies. And you kind of want them to be skeptical of a new technology, right? Because people's lives are impacted by the clients that we serve. And so you want a sense of, hang on, how do we do this right? How do we make sure that we inject this technology into the workflows in a way that makes sense, that's controllable, that's safe, that doesn't get too far ahead of the technology? And so I think a lot of companies are wrestling with that right now, and for all kinds of good reasons. But I wouldn't say that decision makers are doing anything necessarily wrong. I mean, most of the people that we're talking to, I mean, it would be a very rare leader who said, "Yeah, I think this is not going to amount to much."
Okay, but have you experienced any kind of fear from them or any kind of hesitance in what if this goes this way? What if this goes wrong? I mean, do you see a pattern in your
For
customers?
sure. Yeah, but I don't think of that as a negative thing. I think of it as a good. You want a sense of skepticism because these people are responsible for drug discovery and medical claims and really important things to how people live their lives, and you want to make sure that when you're turning on a technology that, let's be honest, it has roots back to the 1950s, but the current instantiation is we're still figuring out a lot of it. You want people to be thoughtful about how that technology is deployed when it impacts our everyday lives.
Okay, got it. And Ascendion being a frontier firm company, I'm sure agentic AI is massively used and it helps with a lot of decisions. But just coming back to the conversation of the human in the loop process.
Sure.
So how do you ensure that human intuition is not drowned with all this algorithmic efficiency that's happening with agentic AI?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it is something, nobody has got this figured out completely. So I can tell you what we're trying to do to make sure that we're balancing the power of the agents with the power of the humans. And it comes back to very tactical process work. So if you think, for example, around like the testing process, quality engineering, right? There are different models for doing that, but we have our model, and we have all of the steps mapped out for how we do, or we would recommend to clients how we would do quality engineering. And then we have agents that are aligned to each one of those steps where it makes sense. And this is the key. All of these steps, some of them are going to be really highly made more productive with an agent. An agent can do more of the work. Some of those steps you want a human to do that step. So that's how we're weaving together the silicon, if you will, the chips, the AI agents, and the carbon, the humans. That's us. And so our view is that being able to do this step by step, task by task, activity by activity, over time, the AI gets to be more and more impactful across the workflow. So that it is step by step by step that we're doing right now to make sure that when we deliver the work to the clients, that what they get is trustworthy.
Got it. Paul, talking about how the current AI systems and the way people are adopting to it is
enabling a lot of people. For example, so right now in organizations, we're talking about how the entry-level work is being taken care of by AI. 50% of coding is taken care of AI. So in a world where your entry-level or the apprentice kind of tasks are taken care of AI, from a fresher's point of view, you're kind of eliminating that whole layer. So how would a person learn and become an expert at it if you're skipping the first layer? Is that a concern that exists?
Certainly, I mean, that is one of the fears that's related to AI. Is what will the impact be on jobs overall, the future of jobs. And right now, the big concern, of course, is, as you rightly say, is, well, hang on, if people need to learn how to do their work and the robots are doing more of that work, how are people going to learn how to do their work? And that is a very real concern, and it makes a lot of sense. Where I think we might be overlooking it, though, is the work being done is still the work being done. So in our work, it's more around everything along the software development cycle and related to data. The work is this; it remains. It's the how that changes. So we still need coders. We still need people that understand how the code works. We still need people to be able to adjudicate what an agent produces. And that involves a lot of sophistication in terms of the coding and all of the other steps that happen, whether it's experience design or data modernization. You need humans to be able to do that. So is it going to disintermediate the fresher level of work? I think in some cases the how will change. I think in certain jobs that will be more true than in others. But I do think that the future is bright, very bright, for all of us, right? Regardless of where you are in your career life cycle, being able to adapt, if we're able to adapt these new tools to the work that makes us inspired, that gives us an interest. So certainly work will be disrupted. The how will be disrupted. The work, we still need testing, we still need design, we still need all of those things. And I'm just talking now just about software engineering. The same model could be extended to all different kinds of knowledge work right now. So yes, it's a concern. I'm not convinced that it's a catastrophe for work.
Okay. And with the trend of, I mean, just a continuation of that, you have vibe coders who, and we're talking about how they might not know the full depth of, say, coding, but they've picked it up because AI is assisting them. But in the long run, do you see some kind of challenge that can happen in such a situation where you don't have the complete knowledge of it, but you've just built it along the way?
Absolutely. I think that's a very good point, in fact. So vibe coding is an amazing new thing, right? And it kind of democratizes the notion of innovation, being able to innovate. And I think that's fantastic. But if you're a big bank, right, and you have people's financial lives that you're responsible for, and you may have years or decades of data that needs to be controlled, and your software has to work all across the globe, that might not be, well, let's just say it, it's not a great target for vibe coding. You don't want to vibe code that. You may want to vibe code, different kind of experiences and different kinds of elements of the value chain that the software is involved with. But to say, we're gonna wing it, right, with vibe coding, that's just not a good decision. And I think that's kind of where the natural skepticism of informed, intelligent, experienced technology leaders comes in. I mean, you want technology people going, yeah, that's not going to work. This is a much more complex problem. It doesn't mean vibe coding isn't going to have an immense amount of value, but it has to fit within the proper use case, which is probably not, your healthcare claims process.
Got it, Paul. And have you ever thought of the way we interact with AI? Now, in your previous book, which you co-wrote, we spoke about how it can become an addiction and you got to be really careful about how you use these devices and stuff. But now with AI, you're getting more and more hooked into it and you feel it's like your companion. You just can't do without it. So do you see, in your experience of what you've observed, do you see that this can go wrong in some way? Like, for example, like AI therapists we talk about, we want to solve a problem, we rely on AI more than probably talking to someone else. That trend is obviously going to continue. Do you see some kind of challenge or threat to it?
It's like with any other. An important question. It's not just a good question. It's a very important question. And you mentioned sort of mental health care.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the situation here in India is, but in the U.S. there's a lack of care. Right, we don't have enough therapists for the people who need care, and so optimistically, can AI help get people better care, more people better care? I think the answer is absolutely yes. On the other hand, can people develop dependencies on it? And you mentioned relationships, and I think the answer to there is that's a very real concern. And you're already starting to see. It's not just me saying that; the evidence is showing that. With every technical change, we as humans have had to adapt to different engagement with that technology, whether it's radio or television or social media, and now AI. The social media rise has shown where we are all as you know, willing to trade our data for an engagement, right? We're giving our attention, and which shares data, and now and there are plenty of platforms that have monetized that. It is an open question, and it is a very important question as to how do we build the right kind of guardrails around AI to ensure public health and identity, while still allowing AI to do good work, to improve care, to improve relationships, to give somebody to, not somebody, but some engagement that they can have that helps them. Mm-hmm. I think all of these things are possible, but it does require us as humans, not just in the loop, but driving how this is done.
Yeah, almost like a control or kind of setting limitations to how you use it.
Well, we do this with humans too, right? We license healthcare professionals, we license doctors, we license lawyers, we license people who cut hair in the U.S. anyway. So we know how to do that, right? And to say that we don't know how to do that, I don't think that's fair. I think we do know how to do that. It's up to us as humans to decide that we have the willingness to put those boundaries in place, put those control systems in place, so that people who may be susceptible to an online addiction or an AI addiction or a relationship that becomes unhealthy have guardrails. And I hats off to the LLM developers right now who are adapting as we learn these things. So it's not perfect, but you can tell that the guardrails are being put in place for the right reasons. It's not perfectly done, and there's a lot more to do. I'm not saying that. But I think I am optimistic at looking at how these things are unfolding.
Got it. And with AI being in the picture for decades, actually.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, we're talking more about it now. And we're seeing that organizations would want to implement AI to have more productivity, to improve it by 10x, etc. So now, over time, with the access companies are having to AI, that's pretty sure that that's happening. So over the long run, what would be an actual moat for a company? Because everyone's going to reach 10x productivity. Everyone's going to reach there. So what would be that USP for a company that would stand out for a customer?
That's another great question. So the productivity is, I agree with your hypothesis that at some point, Tom Friedman wrote "The World is Flat" about the use of global service delivery, and sitting here in Bangalore, we can see that that there was he was certainly got certain elements of that right. So I think it's a pretty safe bet that across a lot of value chains, that AI is going to have a significant impact, and as you rightly say, it's already starting to show up in pockets. But that really is chapter 1. Chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5 is going to be what is a bank, for example, what new products and services is the bank going to offer? How is it going to improve banking health for their consumers? What new products and services are they going to offer? How do they ensure security, privacy, compliance at a much higher level using the power of AI? That's a growth story. So right now we are the kind of the immediate, I guess, reflexive action to, oh, I've got this new system and I can be a lot more productive. That is certainly true. But the future is about new business models, new companies, new kinds of engagement. That's why I get excited about this, because there is going to be this productivity improvement. But that a lot of the new business models and new products and new innovation is going to be unlocked because now using AI, companies can harness the tech debt that they've been paying for years and years and years and repurpose that for innovation. I think ultimately when we look back at this time, we're going to see this as really the early innings of the shift, and new business models, new kinds of companies are going to be emerging. In fact, they're already starting to a certain extent, but I think that's going to be really growing a lot over the coming years.
So just on that bit, so if say in 2040, we're looking back at this era.
2040? Okay.
Yeah, another 10, 15 years from now. Would this era be an era where machines have gotten smarter than humans, or would we look at it as an era where humans have finally figured out how to use the machines efficiently?
So I have a maybe controversial response to that. So are machines going to be smarter than humans? They can already process faster, right? Does that mean it's smarter? Yeah, in a way, it'll take a test better than I can, but it's not going to have my sense of my experiences, or your failures, or your life, right? That is not encoded into any machine. So I think that's an essential point in looking at how are these machines going to be able to add value to the human experience. We don't look at a crane, right, and say the crane is stronger than I am. But we're looking at AI, asking the question, is AI smarter than me? And I think that's a really interesting dichotomy, right? For physical labor, we're okay with it, right? We're not gonna, you're not gonna, run faster than a train. There's not at the Olympics, which are going on right now. We're not, racing against the machine physically.
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, but we're still applying those standards, I guess, to AI in terms of human intelligence. Now, some of that it makes sense, right? Because it is taking on kind of a cognitive load. It is a cognitive machine. It's not it's not manipulating physical space, although it's, the lines are blurry when you get into AI-powered robots. But when we're talking about like the ChatGPTs and Anthropics of the world, it's taking on cognitive load. So it's a natural human thing to go, well, hang on, this thing is starting to talk back to me, and it sounds like a human. And but I think the notion of smarter than, I'm not sure I buy that completely. It's certainly more powerful than humans in certain ways, but it's not human.
Okay, that's a very nice way of saying it, Paul. And if you had to write a book, say 5 years from now.
In 5 years?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, why not now itself? What would be the theme right now? Okay, let's give it some few years.
Yeah.
What would be the theme that you would be writing on? Like, considering how your previous 3 books, you picked up data, you picked up machines.
Yeah, I think the through line there is it's the relationship between humans and technology. And I'm just fascinated by that. I love that. I think it's like the most interesting thing. And just like your questions now, we're engaging we're wrestling with what does it mean to be human, in fact. And what does it mean to have that awareness and then build businesses around it? That's really interesting to me. How does it shape economy and our lives and our identity and things like that? The first book, Code Halos, was about harnessing the value of information. The second book was What to Do When Machines Do Everything, and that's like, if you're harnessing that information and you have AI, what does that mean to your business? And the third book was, how do we put some control mechanisms around these new technologies, whether it's social media, which is powered by AI, or even artificial intelligence deployed more broadly. I would love it if in 5 years we could write a book about, maybe this will be your book. You can write about the successes of this, and it won't be a fairy tale. It will be, here's how life got better, here's what we learned, here's what didn't work right, but here's how we figured it out. I think that would be a phenomenal book.
Yeah, and I think about it too.
You should do it. That's your book.
And Paul, just coming to the end of this interview, I would just want to understand your personal journey. Like just before the interview, we were talking about where you started. If you could just talk about that a bit.
Yeah.
Especially the musician bit. From that to then getting onto the world of this.
Yeah, so I mean, I was a musician after college. I got a journalism degree and wasn't very good at it, but I was okay at being a musician. So I did that for some years, and it was a phenomenal experience. And I did that. I met a lot of great people and had a lot of great experiences, and learned the power of collaboration and dynamic tension in a creative act. And I really value and treasure that. And then I just got itchy feet. I wanted to try some other things and went to grad school and started learning more and more about how other parts of the world worked. And then found myself in technology services, because that was just a little bit by accident, but it turned out to be really exciting. And I was just able to keep learning and keep having learning more about how the industry worked and how technology worked. And I was an analyst for a while, where I got to write about the whole industry, and I really liked doing all of that. And then I wanted to be back in an operator role, which is what I went to, work for a big company right around the corner here, and had a lot of fun, and founded the Center for the Future of Work. And so I got to start to put my curiosity about research and writing skills and in with what I had learned around the technology industry. So I did that for a while, and that was good fun, and got more and more into kind of strategy roles and storytelling about how do you tell stories about what your company is trying to do and how we can help serve people. And then we wanted to disrupt that. So we wanted to disrupt the industry that helped build Bangalore, and that's what we're doing right now. And so that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds great, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this
Thank you
insightful
so much.
conversation.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.